Love languages. When are they not worth talking about? In our last episode, we discussed and talked about the 5 love languages. Well, the first 3, actually. Because we know your time's valuable, we didn't want to take too much of it. So in this episode, we're looking at love languages 4 and 5. But before we do you remember the first 3? They're affirmations, quality time, and receiving gifts. We invite you to listen to them on our previous episode, again if you wish. Author Gary Chapman, a marriage counsellor of over 35 years, noticed that there were 5 different love languages that people responded to and needed. Gary believed that in every child there's a love tank waiting to be filled. A child who feels loved will develop normally. Those who don't will look for love in the wrong places and at the wrong times. This need for love does not just occur in childhood. It continues through our teens, into adulthood, and ultimately until the day we die. Welcome to Personalities, Parenting and Partners. This is the podcast that connects you to the ones you care about the most. I'm Kate Mason. This episode of Personalities, Parenting and Partners will focus on the last 2 love languages, acts of service and physical touch. Now let's look at acts of service. As parents and partners, we're all bound by acts of service at some time. So do not misconstrue this as your love language if it doesn't make your heart sing and bring joy. For many of us, it's just something that is part of everyday life, and we must do it. For acts of service people, it might be cleaning, cooking, taking the kids' friends into town, picking the kids up, making a meal, giving a friend a helping hand that gives them great happiness. Hearing the phrase, "let me do that for you," is always music to our ears. But for people who see acts of service as the greatest expression of love, hearing this phrase is like hitting the jackpot. These people love doing things for others. Acts of service individuals want their partners and others around them to notice that their own responsibilities are grand and sometimes daunting, and that a helping hand every once in a while shows love and care. However, just as much as these individuals love acts of service, they don't deal well with broken promises, laziness, and have very little tolerance for people who make more work for them. This shows lack of value for what they do for others. Can vacuuming the floors be an expression of love? Absolutely. My husband Paul and I are both acts of service. Nothing makes us happier than when Paul is in the garden cleaning up and I'm in the house tidying up. I know, it seems so old-fashioned, domesticated, doesn't it? But when we've finished and we congratulate each other on a job well done, the satisfaction is amazing. It feels so good. Who would believe that closing the curtains in the house could be such a turn-on? Anything you do to ease the burden of responsibilities weighing on an acts of service person will speak volumes. The words he or she most want to hear is, "let me do that for you." Cassie's story. When Cassie was 18, she and her then boyfriend would spend Saturday night at our place. We would supply them with drinks, dinner, and they would go and sit in a second sitting area and watch TV for the rest of the night. We would go to bed before them. However, we would also wake up earlier. As we emerged from our bedroom, we would walk past the disaster area of the lounge into the even more catastrophic mess in the kitchen. Well, so it appeared to us. Our love tanks were empty. Where was the love and appreciation for our acts of service the night before? We would then sit and complain about Cassie until she emerged through the door at midday. When she opened the door, we would start. "How could you leave the place in such a mess? We looked after you and this is how you thank us," and on and on and on. She would just look at us, turn around, slam the door, and walk out. After the 3rd Saturday, I realised that something had to change. So I sat her down and got her to do the online love quiz for love languages. As I already knew, her love languages were affirmation and then gifts. I then discussed with her that her father and I were acts of service, and we were really happy to help in any way as long as we felt what we did was appreciated and that she tidied up at the end of the night. And if we got up in the morning and there were no traces of mess, pillows were picked up, dishes in the dishwasher, we would have no reason to berate her the minute she woke up. We would be able to reinforce her love language and tell her what a wonderful job she'd done, and we would all have full love tanks. She took this on board, and with this awareness, we all understand each other so much more and can joke about our needs and how to ensure we all stay happy and loved. 5 acts of service love language tips. Number 1. Make a list of the requests your partner has made over the last few weeks. Select one to do each week. Number 2. Ask your partner to list the things that he or she would like you to do during the next month. Rate them from 1 to 10 and begin with 1. If you have the money, hire someone to complete the acts of service that you cannot or do not want to do. Ask your partner what daily acts of service they would really like you to do and work these things into your daily schedule, as little things really do mean a lot. And number 5, keep a box of suggestions made by the acts of service person of things that would make them happy. Look at them regularly and, more importantly, do them. Our last language is the 5th love language, physical touch. The love language of physical touch doesn't refer to physical touch and affection in the bedroom, but refers to the everyday physical connections like hand-holding, kissing, pats on the back, thoughtful touches on the arm, shoulder or face, or any type of reaffirming physical contact. A physical touch person desires physical touch and affection from their partner, as this shows how much their partner cares for them. In our relationships, it's important to recognise what seems to be such an obvious love language. After the first glow of love disappears, if the physical touch is with someone who values a different love language, they can feel starved of human contact if it's withdrawn. It's very important to understand all of these languages so that we can meet our relationship needs. A friend of mine attended one of my workshops and went home and asked her partner which one was his favourite. When she found out it was physical touch, she knew that she had to mentally and physically make a huge effort to be tangibly affectionate. It was not her love language. She loved quality time. When he saw her changes towards him, he learnt about her love language and began to spend quality time with her. The impact of this joint effort saved their relationship. They both told me that they felt the most loved and happy that they'd been in years. So easy when you know how. 5 physical touch love language tips. Number 1. When you're walking, hold their hand. Number 2. Walk up to them, hug them, and tell them that you love them. Number 3. Hold hands or hug them in front of others. 4. Give your partner a big welcome home when they walk in. Hugs, kisses, massages. Number 5. Sit close to each other as you watch TV. Seems simple, doesn't it? I'm continuing with my interview with Karen Tui Boyes, which started last episode, and I was wondering what love languages her children used.
So that's one of them's a bit of an anomaly because he's 22 years old and his brain has shut down. So,
okay.
Because that's what happens in those years, and it's under renovation. So it is like a kitchen renovation. It's messy. It's noisy. It doesn't do anything. It's not useful. It's just annoying, really.
Darn it. And it's still living at home?
And it's still living at home.
Right, that's even worse.
So I think, but I think when he was young, it was quality time. And so I'm not sure now, because the last thing he wants to do is spend time with his mother. But I think what he does, he's a gamer, so it's the quality time with his mates on gaming that I think in the connection he has with those people. So I think that would be his love language. Actually, Kate, when he was little, he used to say this. He used to say, "Mum, can you come to the lounge, please?" So I'd come to the lounge, and then he'd say, "Why don't you sit on the couch with me?" And I'd sit on the couch, and then he'd say, "Do you want to watch TV?" And I'd be like, oh, smart little kid. He's like, if you're with me.
He's got me in.
Yeah, he's like, let's have quality time and do what I want. But my daughter, she's 19 now. Hers has always been gift giving. But it's morphed a little. But we knew it was gift giving because when she was 3, she used to leave the dinner table, go away, get some tea towels and wrap up things, pretending wrapping things up in tea towels and keep giving us gifts every night. And we'd have to open the surprise and be all surprised.
So how do you go giving back to her?
So, hers is gift giving and quality time. So what she loves is knowing that we're going to have a shopping experience together. Or what she wants right now, coming up to Christmas as we record this, she has seen, she's bought one actually, a gingerbread caravan, like a gingerbread house, but you put it together and it's a gingerbread caravan. She's like, "Mum, can we do this together?" Mm-hmm. Or, "Mum, can we go out and I need to get such and such, and will you buy me such and such?" Or can we go to the op shop and buy some clothes? I'm really lucky that she's a label girl. She likes labels, but she doesn't mind if they come from the op shop.
That's great. Yep, because there's a lot of labels sitting in that op shop that have not been worn. Believe me, my daughter's always sending her stuff through. So yes, that's great though, and it's great to know that, because when they do have that quality time, my son's quality time, and he loves a coffee, and we can sit over a coffee for hours in a coffee shop just enjoying that. Whereas you and I probably have got things to do with our time that we'd really like to get out and do, but I sit there and I love it. I really enjoy it, but sometimes I do think there is a bit more stuff that I could be doing, but it's actually great that they actually sit you down or ask for that time, which is really important.
And you're right. I think I probably don't give her enough time. I think, I don't even think. I know I don't.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah. We have coffees quite often, so because he's lucky, I do like having a coffee. So
good.
He gets his fix in that way.
Nice.
So, do you use love languages aside from with your family? I know that one stage I think we talked about you using it in your workplace.
Yes.
Did you ever do that?
So when I've got a new team, or my current team have all done the love languages tests, and it's really interesting because at one stage I had a whole team that was physical touch.
Right.
And it's like, that's interesting.
As long as you didn't go around patting each other's bottoms, you're fine.
No, but they would come in and they would hug me every day. And I'm like, this is a little weird that your people that you're paying come in and hug you every day. But they did. They would hug me every day. But my current team are not necessarily physical touch, but one of them is words of affirmation. And I have to say that's my hardest one. I find it difficult to articulate that every day. Every day I say, thank you, thanks for all your work, thanks for what you've done, but not specific enough probably to be meeting a love language. So it's the one I have to really work on. And so what we did is, what people's top 2 love languages were, we actually cut out the symbols and put it on their computer screens.
Fantastic. Yep.
So that I can quickly glance around, or you can glance around and say, hey, what does this person need from me?
That's a fabulous idea. And I've run love languages in businesses. They call it a different thing on the internet. And you do have to be careful with physical touch these days, particularly men and women. And so that is a more cautious area. And so it is set up slightly differently. But it is really important to keep in touch with those things that people like, because as a business owner, you might be giving them gifts and they might hate gifts. They might just rather you sat down with them and chatted sometime, like you say with the physical affection, that's, a pat on the back or whatever they find appropriate. You have the discussion. You don't just leave it up to fate and go your own way. But it is a really important thing in the workplace, because we've found that too. So yeah, that's fabulous. It's a great use of it all over, really.
I had one team member who was all physical touch. She was all over everybody. And we had some people come in, some businessmen come into the office, and she's instantly touching them, and she wanted to hug them when they left. And I had to say to her, whoa, actually not appropriate to be able to do that. And she had no idea. Because sometimes if you don't understand love languages, you just think everybody likes what you like.
Yes, absolutely. And even when we talk about extroversion, introversion, and I'm quite a hugger, I think, of people when I first meet. And I used to bowl into the staff room when I was a teacher. And it wasn't until I looked at love languages and personalities that I realized people actually shrunk away from me. They would actually almost withdraw, and you could see them like, oh my God, she's not going to come up and physically touch. This is years back, before we came into all the politics around all of this type of thing. So it was a great awareness thing for me. But back then, I'm talking 20 odd years ago, to realize that not everybody feels the same way as I do. You just can't go into a room and expect everybody to be you and understand you in that sense. So, yeah.
I had a great example of that one Christmas. I went to my girlfriend's house, and she had this beautiful candelabra on her table. And I said, oh, I love that candelabra. And then she said to me, do you know what? I bought that for you for Christmas, but I love it so much, I'm keeping it. And
thanks.
So hashtag don't tell people that you bought it for them and are keeping it. But because every time I go to her house, I'm like, she said, I went to the shop to find another one, but they didn't have another one. But it was a great example of how we often do what we like. We buy gifts that we like for somebody else, rather than being able to put ourselves in their shoes and think, what would they like?
Absolutely. And that's the thing that I was going to mention today too, is that is exactly what we do. And I get loads of candles and stuff like that. And I wish people would just ask me, because I know you're a candle person.
I love candles.
I hate them. No, I don't hate them, everyone. I love them if they smell really good. I love caramel and vanilla. They're the best flavors. But I'm not really I don't lie in a bath like you do and like candles. There's nothing like that in my life. So when I was a teacher, that's all I got for presents. You got candles and you got chocolates, which I don't really eat on the other side either. So if someone had actually asked me, they would have got value for their money, and it would have. And I'm not a materialistic person in that sense anyway, but it's always better to ask someone. And my brother brainstorms. He's an intuitive, so he puts the person in the middle and then brainstorms outwardly on what do they do, what's their job, what are all their interests and likes when he does it, and it makes a very big difference to how you look at the present. But a lot of the time, just ask them, because if you don't ask them and they don't, you're not really going to know. So that's a very important thing to look at, because we were going to talk just as our last bit. How do you choose the material gifts, not the love language gifts, but the material gifts that you give your family for Christmas?
I used to hate that. It was one of the hardest things. I would walk around and around and around shops. And then one day my sister was having a garage sale, and I noticed that half the things in her garage sale were things I'd given her over the years. And I was like, you spent hours agonizing over what you're going to buy them. And I said to people, what did I give you for Christmas last year? What did I give you for your birthday? And no one could tell me. And I'd spend hours. So I came up, I must have heard this. I don't make things up. I don't create. I came up with this idea that I said, how about instead of us buying presents for one another, how about we have a family account? And at every birthday and every Christmas, we put $50 into that family account. So effectively, everybody gets $100. Now, my family, up until recently, because my dad has just passed away, but up until there was 8 of us.
Right.
So basically, so there's my mum and dad, their 2 daughters, 2 son-in-laws, and my 2 children. So this wasn't the children to start with until they turned 18. So the children would still get gifts.
Yes.
Up until they turned 18. But when they were 18, they were expected then for the rest of the family to put in this money. So you can imagine if there's 8 of us putting in, $100 every year for every person, that money builds up. So I said, how about we have experiences? Now, one of the things our family loves are musicals and just hanging out together. So we, the family fund has now paid for us to travel to see Cats, to see Wicked, to see The Sounds of Music, to see so many different musicals. It's even paid and funded us as a family to go to Rarotonga.
Wow.
Which that's a lot of money, to take an entire family of 4 to Rarotonga. And and people remember that. When we sit around the table, we say, do you remember when we were in Rarotonga? Do you remember when we went to Auckland and went to such and such? Do you remember that restaurant we went to? Do you remember? And so we've created memories. And so we don't buy gifts anymore.
That's a wonderful idea. Listeners, if you're out there, that is so true. And of my children in their maturity now, most of the things that they remember are the experiences and the times that we've spent with them. They're not the gifts. And that is a
Correct.
really important thing to remember, especially if you're a young parent out there or partner or whatever, and you're parenting younger children. Remember that they are the things that they do remember. And they do also remember behaviours that happen, such as tapping on the backside and stuff like that. They do remember those as well. So just hang on to that thought. Don't do anything that you don't want your child to come out with at school or to behaviourally do when they get older. You always have to be careful because I've watched my kids and thought, oh my goodness, I should never have done that. So hang on to those thoughts.
What's the phrase? Don't worry that they're not listening to you. Worry that they're always watching you.
That's right. And just as a wrap up, what's your one piece of advice for our listeners when it comes to relationships?
It's a goodie.
It's a hardie.
No, passionately kiss every day. I don't mean the little kiss on the cheek or just the flyby kiss. I mean stop and have a good 20-second connection, real kiss every single day.
Excellent. Go on. Why do you do that?
Well, I heard this from somebody years ago, and it really taught me, just like you, Kate, and probably many of the listeners, there's a million things happening inside my head. And what I realized was that if I have a passionate kiss every single day, I have to push aside everything else. I cannot be thinking about the GST. I cannot be thinking about what I'm going to do next. I actually have to stop and truly connect with my husband, which actually creates something magical. It allows us to have a deeper love, a deeper understanding of each other. And yes, I know there's someone out there going, yes, but if I kiss him passionately, he's going to want more. And yes, sometimes we do. But most of the time, we don't. It's just like a passionate connection every single day. And I'll tell you this quick story. I heard this story recently where a woman went to her priest and said, I want to divorce my husband. And the priest said, well, I don't really condone that, but look, I know you're not happy. So here's what I want you to do. For the next 30 days, I want you to love him so much and give him everything that, meet his needs, and just be very loving to him so that in 30 days, when you pull the plug, it will hurt him even more. And so this woman's like, what a great idea.
Yeah. So
you know what's going to happen, right? Because she goes and she's just so loving. She helps meet his needs. She does, she's just pure love. And in 30 days, guess what, Kate?
He didn't want her to go. She didn't want to leave.
She didn't want to leave.
No.
She was fallen totally in love. And I think this is what happens in relationships. People go, I wish he would. I wish she would. It's like, why don't you just be love? Why don't you just be that connector? Why don't you? And look, not all relationships are destined to survive, but you be love, do everything you can, but don't play the victim and don't put it on them.
No, absolutely. That's wonderful words of wisdom, because the truth of it is that if we stop thinking about ourselves and give them what they want, then you actually get what you want back, because someone who's loved feels really loved and will give love, won't they? Just as you've described. But it's really hard in everyday life. That's the perfect world. But it is a really important thing to note. And when you do that, in fact, I do a similar thing to you, because when you reconnect on that passionate kiss, you go, oh my goodness, those pecks have really been nothing. They mean nothing. It's just a passing by thing. So thank you. That was the most wonderful piece of advice that we can give our listeners before we leave. So lots of kissing, everyone, and whatever it leads to, go with the flow. So thanks for joining me today, Karen. I've had a wonderful time, and I wish you and your family a wonderful Christmas, and I hope that you have a lot of experiences over that Christmas with lots of love and lots of fun. Take care.
Thank you so much, Kate.
So now that we know about love languages, how can we find someone's love language? Well, we can do 3 things. Number 1, observe their behaviour. How do they typically respond to other people? For example, are they usually affirmative and encouraging? Then words of affirmation might be their language, because we often use our own love language with other people. If they always give gifts, they might enjoy receiving thoughtful gifts themselves. Number 2, what do they complain about? People's complaints reveal their love language too. If they say to you, we're not spending enough time together, they might be telling you that quality time is their language. Number 3, what do they request most often? If they say, I'd love a hug or a back rub, they could be telling you that physical touch is their language. So watch out for all the different cues that people give you verbally and physically. Humble words. Love makes requests, not demands. In a relationship, we're on equal terms. We need to know what each other wants. But how you express these desires is important. Letting people know what you want in the form of a request and giving guidance rather than an ultimatum. When requests come across as demands, you'll drive your partner away. Remember that giving the gift of love this Christmas, if your partner has a particular love language, give them their favourite in huge doses. But it doesn't mean that you should stop expressing the other love languages. Even though we favour one love language, we still enjoy the traits of the others. Happy love language gift shopping. Thank you for listening to Personalities, Parenting and Partners. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love it if you could leave a rating and a review. That would help others learn and also enjoy this podcast. If you have an episode idea, please send a note to thepersonalitycoach@gmail.com. If you're interested in discovering more about you and your family's personality types, you'll find my newly launched book, Who is This Monster or Treasure in My House, on Booktopia or Amazon.